I hope all of you are fine. Excellent. And now, this is the first session of today's NIOS PCP programs. Actually, this is the second part of our previous session. Today's discussion topic is sources of energy in the secondary section. It is the second part we are dealing today. First part we have already discussed, sources of energy. So in the previous session, we have discussed about different types of sources of energy we are using, especially in India, our dependence on various types of energy, whether it is conventional or non-conventional, and what is the need for non-conventional sources of energy. All these things we have discussed in the first session. And also we have discussed the effect of fossil fuels to a greater extent. Also, what are the consequences of using fossil fuel to a greater extent? What are the environmental consequences and all these things we have discussed in the previous session. And today we will concentrate on renewable sources of energy, the new technologies, emerging trends in the sources of energy, etc. things. Okay, dear learners, let us begin. Sources of Energy, Part 2. I am Dr. Dinesh Yankuru from Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Kottayam of Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti. Now, let's have a quick glance on what we have discussed in session 1. So, we have discussed about a good source of energy. A good source of energy is something which provide high value of energy per unit gram. That means high calorific value. And the basic definition of energy is the ability to do work. Then also we have discussed the energy exists in many forms and we can only convert it from one form of energy into another. We can neither create nor absorb energy. And we have also discussed the major source of energy in India as, because we know that it is fossil fuels. We use a lot of fossil fuels as source of energy. And globally, the present scenario is there is an increased demand for non-conventional sources of energy. So this much we have discussed in the previous session. Now let's see what we are going to discuss in today's session. So these are the objectives of today's session. So basic introduction to non-conventional sources of energy. What are the new techniques and methods to produce energy, emerging trends in the production of energy. And in that emerging trends, we will be discussing energy from the ocean. What are the ways by which we can create energy from ocean? And emerging trends again in the sources of different sources of energy, how the technological development influence using the different sources of energy which are available in nature. And ultimately the need for a green energy. So these are the objectives of today's session. Now let's have a quick recap on windmill. Windmill we have discussed already in the previous session. Let's have a quick recap. For installing a windmill, we need a land of 2 hectares for developing a power of 1 megawatt. And again, the wind speed is the basic necessity. It should be 15 kilometers per hour. And the largest wind field we have in our country, it is a 380 megawatt station near Kanyakumari district of Tamil Nadu. And the cost of a domestic windmill, it is around 30,000 rupees for creating or generating a power of 100 watt. It sounds to be costly, but appears to be costly. But when we consider the running cost of this one, once we install this windmill, it will work minimum for some 15 to 20 years. So in that way, it is cheap. Now, the commercial cost. What is the commercial cost of this one? Commercial cost, it is around 6 crores for generating 1 megawatt. So a bit costly. Then a target for India, it is exploring 45,000 megawatt in future. So we have a target of exploring 45,000 megawatt in our country. Then what are the advantages and limitations of wind energy? So a lot of advantages are there. It is environment friendly, eco-friendly, it is efficient, it is a renewable source. We can again and again, wind will come. It won't be exhausted, wind will not be getting exhausted. So it is a renewable source. And as I said, as we have just discussed, it is not having any recurring cost for production of electricity. Once we install it, it will run for minimum 15 to 20 years, and we won't have any recurring cost for production of electricity. And of course, it has certain limitations also. The limitations include we need a minimum wind speed, and that speed should be more than 15 kilometer per hour, and must have backup storage facilities like cells. Sufficient number of cells must be there. Here, there is a hope, because we know that the researchers and development in the field of nanotechnology, it is going higher and higher, and the size of the cells are coming down to smaller and smaller sizes. So in future, we will have cells of small size with high capacity, and in future we won't have that as a limitation of using cells. And another limitation is this wind field, that means windmills, require large land area, and it is not suitable for crowded places and all. So that is another limitation. And one learner interacted in the previous session, and he suggested that will it be a limitation, just like it will affect the ecosystem, it will be a threat to the birds and all those things. Yes, of course, it is a threat to the ecosystem if we keep it in large number in a particular habitat, means a habitat of some birds or something like that. So it will be a problem. Then high initial installation cost and regular maintenance are required. So as we have just now discussed, installation cost is very high, and the regular maintenance in the sense that we should ensure that the blades are okay, the blades are in the regular shape, and it is rotating in the proper way, and all those things we have to ensure. मान लीजिए ये सब ठीक है, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. अगर ब्लेड का शेप ठीक नहीं है, ब्लेड का पोजीशनिंग ठीक नहीं है, ब्लेड का रोटेशन ठीक नहीं है, तो प्रॉब्लम आने का चांस है. तो उसका मतलब ये है कि मेंटेनेंस ठीक होना चाहिए. अगर मेंटेनेंस ठीक नहीं है तो वो इतना एफिशिएंसी से काम नहीं करेगा. So that is the limitation, another limitation of this one. Now let's start the solar energy. See, we know that sun is the supreme provider of energy in our solar system. Sun provides us the two major sources of energy. It is light and heat. We all know that. We all depend upon the solar energy. Without light and heat, we can't live. We all know that. And how can we harness this solar energy? So that's a question. So it has been radiating energy for the past 5 billion years, and it will continue to do for another 5 billion years or more. So it's a big question in front of us. Are we able to harness this energy? So we're getting energy in huge amounts. Are we in a position to use this huge amount of energy? The answer is a strong no. We are not in a position to use the total energy given by sun. So that's a question in front of us. How to use solar energy in an efficient way. So a big question in front of us. We are having large amount of energy from sun and other stars and all these things, primarily from sun. What are the ways, methods and mechanisms by which we use that energy? So as human beings, we haven't developed such mechanisms so far. Still, we are not using sun's energy to a greater percentage. So we have to develop such mechanisms, such technology, such kind of scientific knowledge must be there to harness or to use sun's energy to a greater extent. Now, a small initiative, a small device is a solar cooker. A solar cooker, of course, solar water heaters. अभी तो आपको पता चलेगा कि water heaters are there. Solar water heaters आजकल तो use करते हैं. कुछ घर में है solar water heater, फिर भी the usage of the solar water heater is not popular. Means a major percentage of Indian population is not using solar water heaters. Now, solar water, cookers and solar water heaters directly use solar energy to operate that. See, the mechanism is very simple. It will have a reflecting surface which reflects sun's energy. It will concentrate sun's energy. After reflecting, it will concentrate sun's energy. It will focus sun's rays to a particular point. And if we keep something at that focus, automatically it will be getting heated. And again, we know that if we keep something inside the glass box, there will be greenhouse effect, and the temperature inside the glass box will be bit higher than the temperature outside. So if we again make some arrangements to effectively use the solar energy, so it will be beneficial for us, at least some energy we can use it. So these are the simple methods to harness solar energy. Okay, wait, Richi. This is a very simple mechanism of solar cooker. It has a box type structure. देखिए box type structure, and it has basically a reflector which reflect sun's energy. The light तो इधर आते हैं ना. This light will be getting reflected. It will be coming, and there is a glass sheet. देखिए, there is a glass sheet. So this glass sheet is to trap the light rays. Once the light rays are entering into the box, and if there is a glass sheet in between them, the light rays will be losing its energy, and light rays will be getting trapped inside this. It will be getting trapped. So if it is coming, it will be getting trapped, and there is black painted interior for the box. Black colored interior. See, black colored interior. We know that white color reflect all the colors of light, and black color absorb heat. Okay, white reflect heat, and as well as black absorb heat. So inside the solar cooker, the temperature will be higher than the outer area of the solar cooker, and we can get some difference in temperature, and in the interior the temperature will be higher, and we can keep a cook pot inside. It's a very simple thing. These are not complicated issues, complicated science, or complicated technology, very simple things. Still, the problem here is why we are learning this is we have to popularize all these things, basic sciences. Then only we will get rid of, or we will be able to overcome the energy crisis. So we are running short of energy. Since we all live in a developing country, we are in demand, we are in need of a huge demand of energy, and the supply is very limited, and we are not in a position to meet all the energy expectation. That's why we are trying to popularize all these small technology, green technology, newer technology, and innovations. That is the objective of discussing or studying all these things. See, there's again a glass or plastic cover. We can use glass, or if glass is not there, we can use plastic. Very simple things we have just discussed. Glass sheet is used to trap the light rays in the interior of the box. We can see here a reflecting mirror. This reflecting mirror, it can be a plane mirror or a concave mirror. If we use a plane mirror, this is a plane mirror. This one is a plane mirror. It reflects all the light rays into the inner part of the cooker. And instead of a plane mirror, we can use a concave mirror also. If we use a concave mirror, it will further concentrate the sun rays to a particular point, and the temperature will be a bit higher. I think all the different parts are clear to you. A black painted box, glass sheet to trap the light rays in the interior of the solar cooker, a reflector can be plane mirror or a concave mirror, so very simple thing, and the cook pot is to be placed in the interior of the cooker, solar cooker. So this is a basic solar cooker. Now, see how it works. There are two types of cooker. There are many types of cooker. Basically, we can have two types of solar cooker, and it is box type, and the second one is a parabolic type. In the box type solar cooker, as we have discussed, the same thing will be there. Plain mirror will be there. Whereas in the case of a parabolic type solar cooker, In the case of a parabolic type solar cooker, you see the light rays are coming. The light rays are coming and it is getting converged. This is coming here and it is getting converged. So this is also getting converged. This is getting converged. All the light rays will be getting converged there. So that is the advantage of this concave shaped solar cooker. Means we will have a concave mirror. All the light rays which are hitting on the surface of the concave mirror will be converged and all the light rays will be meeting at the particular point. So if we keep something here, see if we keep something here, some food to be cooked, if we keep it somewhere here, so at the focus of the concave mirror, we are keeping this food to be cooked at the focus of the concave mirror. It will develop some extra amount of temperature and the efficiency of a concave or a parabolic type mirror also we can use, concave mirror we can use, parabolic type mirror. So it will have a focusing effect and it will focus all the light rays to that particular point. So the temperature developed there will be higher than the temperature developed in the case of a box type solar cooker. Now let's see the advantages and disadvantages of a solar cooker. First thing is it can reduce the electricity bill in your house. See, I won't say that the entire functioning of all the electrical devices in your home will be met by solar devices, but you can reduce the consumption of electricity from the conventional sources to a greater extent, and you can, by using a solar cooker, you can reduce your energy bill also. Now, it is a big question how it reduces the pollution rate or how you protect your environment. It's a big question. So by using the solar cooker or by promoting the use of the solar cooker, you are directly protecting the environment. Okay, so the environment is getting polluted only because of human activities. Nature itself is not polluting nature, so you are polluting the nature. So that rate at which the quality of air is getting deteriorated or polluted, it can be reduced by the usage of this kind of devices. Then these different gases like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, then emission of different pollutants like dust, gas, etc. can be reduced. We won't say that it will be reduced to zero, but the percentage emission will be reduced to a greater extent. So in that way, we can help protect our earth environment. Then if we promote these kind of innovative device, that means non-conventional devices, in one way we are reducing the usage of conventional fuels like coal and other things. So we can conserve it for a future. Okay, certain amount of fuel we are reducing, and that amount what we are saving, it will be conserved or it will be protected for future use. Then again, another advantage is softness and moisture of the baked food. So if we use the conventional sources of energy to cook food, so this advantage won't be there. So when we use a solar cooker, it remains, so it protects the moisture and softness in the baked food. So natural flavor will be locked and it will have a natural taste. Artificial these things won't be there, and you will get all nutrients directly from the food. So there is no wastage of food, there is no loss of any nutrients in food. And of course, it has got a lot of disadvantages also. The major disadvantage is it requires sunlight. Without sunlight, it can't function because the basic necessity is sunlight. Basic principle is it works on solar energy, so sunlight must be there. So we can't place it or we can't use it anytime, anywhere. So that's the main issue here. And still, even if this disadvantage exists, so we know that sunlight is available throughout the year. Only few months, maybe for 1 or 2 months, it is not available. On all the other time, it is available plenty. So we can harness it, we can use it, and we can save the conventional sources of energy. Then the second disadvantage is it is difficult to use in winter months and in rainy days. Of course, it is obvious that we can't use such a kind of devices when sunlight is not there, and in rainy and winter season we can't use it. So it's obvious. Then, of course, cooking takes longer time compared to conventional system. Of course, it is correct. It is correct. But all the time we need not cook, or we won't go for deep frying or deep cooking and all those things which require a lot of fuel and all those. Sometimes we use fuel to warm food. Sometimes we use fuel to keep the food warm for some time, and sometimes we use food little warm, something like that. So warming procedure, we consume fuel, so that we can reduce it. So here it is it is not a disadvantage. Of course, actually it is an advantage only. Then of course, the major disadvantage is deep frying, then cooking which requires high temperatures and prolonged cooking, something like that won't be performed by using the solar cooker. So that's another disadvantage. So even though these disadvantages exist, it has got many advantages. When you see these two sections, you can understand that the advantages are many, plenty when compared to the disadvantages. Disadvantage is only the problem with the availability of sunlight, then the time taken for cooking and all those things. Still, if we effectively use that, efficiently use that as a substitute, we can even reduce the consumption of our conventional fossil fuels to nearly 30% or 40% in our homes. It is a fact. Now, see a case of a solar cell. Another device which convert which convert light into electricity. Light, that is solar energy, directly into electricity. The device is known as solar cell. It was not popular some 30 or 40 years back, and now it is becoming very, very, very popular. And all of you, dear learners, all of you may be knowing that the only source of energy in satellite is a big solar panel spread in a large area in space. So that much the technology has developed. So directly we can convert sun's energy into electricity. So what happens here in the case of a solar cell? This is actually a semiconductor device with one p-type layer and another n-type layer. Then when light falls on this device, I'll explain the mechanism in the next slide. And basically, when light falls on it, it will generate electricity. Okay, this will generate electricity, and we can use this electricity for different applications. And you see this one, the solar cell produces a voltage of only 0.51 volt, and the power which is generated by a solar cell is only 0.7 watt. So this is the major issue here. A single solar cell will only generate 0.51 volt and the power of 0.7 volt. So here we can't use a single cell as a source of energy. We have to use a number of cells to get a sufficiently large value of energy. So a large number of such cells can combine. We can combine a large number of such cells to form a panel. So it is called a solar panel. A solar panel is nothing but a large number of cells which are combined to generate power. Because a single cell is capable of generating a power of only 0.7 watt at a voltage of 0.51 volt. So it's very small. This is not enough for our common application. So we need higher voltage and higher power, and for that we use a number of cells in combination method, and such a combination is called a solar cell panel. Okay, so that is enough for practical uses. Okay, now let's see the next one. So this is the mechanism by which electrons are being generated in the case of a PN junction solar cell. So when we connect it and expose it to sunlight, three major phenomena occur there. So first one is generation of an electron hole pair. an electron hole pair will be generated. You are seeing this one. Electron is there and hole is there. Generation of electron hole pair will be there, and this electron hole pair will be separated into different separated to different places. That means inside that one, inside the semiconducting material, it will be separated, and these electrons will be collected at one end and holes will be collected at the other end. So dear learners, remember there are three steps. The steps are generation, separation and collection of EH pair. So generation of electron hole pair, separation of electron hole pair, and collection of this electron here and hole here. So this is the mechanism by which electricity is generated in a solar cell. Okay, so learners may have a doubt at this point. Do all the materials generate electricity when exposed to sunlight? No, obviously no. All the materials won't generate electricity when exposed to sunlight. There are certain materials, just like gallium arsenide or simple semiconducting materials like silicon, etc. They have the capacity to generate this electron hole pair when exposed to sunlight. So, dear learners, at this level, you have to remember that it depends upon the electronic configuration and the energy levels of electron of a particular compound or element, which decides the fact that whether it will be emitting electrons or whether it will generate electricity when exposed to sunlight. Okay, now let's see the next one. See, this is the structure of a solar cell, N-type silicon and a P-type silicon. As I have discussed in the previous slide, there will be a p-n junction or one n-type silicon. That means one electron will be excess here, and there is a p-type silicon. One electron will be shortage here. That means absence of electron will be there. So there are two types of semiconducting material, n-type as well as p-type. So one n-type layer and another p-type layer. So they are fused together. Then it is exposed to sunlight. When sunlight strike on it, electrons are being ejected. These electrons will be flowing through the external circuit, completing the electrical circuit, which provide us electricity. Current is flowing. Again, as we have discussed in the previous this one, efficiency of a single solar cell is very less, but the size of a single solar cell is very small. Size of a single solar cell is very small. So we can combine large number of these small cells to make a solar cell panel which provide a large value of voltage as well as a large value of power. That is the advantage of using this solar cell. As a single cell, it may not be worthy, but in groups in the sense that when we combine a large number of cells together, it will give us, it is capable of doing miracles. So that is the advantage of this solar cell. Now, how can we use this solar cell in our day-to-day applications? You see, solar cell is now very common it is. Okay, in future it becomes more popular also. Because as I told you earlier, battery in which the energy which we get from solar cell is to be stored, the size of the battery is coming down because of the developments in nanotechnology. These lithium ion batteries and a lot of developments are coming. So size is coming smaller and the capacity is getting larger. So large capacity cells will be available in smaller size in future, and in those days solar cells again will be more popular. So the basic function you see here, it is connected to a controller which controls. Why this controller? Controller is needed to control the flow of current to the battery. Sometimes if it is overcharged, it means production rate is high, there is a chance of getting damaged. So to avoid that, we have a controller. So it is a mechanism similar to our mobile phone charging, etc. things. These fast chargers nowadays, 2 ampere chargers, more than 2 ampere chargers, fast chargers. If it is connected to an old phone and all those things, there will be a problem because automatic cutoff, etc. things won't be there in that. So there we need a controller, microcontroller, so which regulate the flow of current to the battery. So without this also we can do, but there's a chance of getting damaged. So to avoid that risk, we are using a controller. Then we will get DC from the battery, and that DC, sometimes in certain applications we use the direct DC. We supply direct DC to certain applications, and in certain other applications we need AC. Just like a washing machine, AC load is a washing machine uses AC. Then different other things which use AC, which operate on AC. There we need a DC to AC inverter, just like the inverter what we use in our home. It's an inverter which converts DC to AC. And again, if the energy what you generate in your home is surplus, that means you have some excess energy to supply to the electricity board of your state. That provision is also given by government. You can supply it to the national grid directly, and they will pay for it. They will pay for the units of energy which we are supplying to the national grid, depending upon the capacity, depending upon the need and all these things, there will be a rate. So dear learners, future belongs to this solar cell, no doubt. So we can install this in our home also. We can use as much energy we want, and the excess energy we can supply to the electricity board of your state, and you will get extra money also. Of course, the initial installation cost will be a little high, but gradually it will start earning you a bit of extra money. Okay, see these different parts. A solar cell panel, and it will be connected to battery by using a controller which regulate the flow of current, speed of current, etc. Then it can be used in two ways: DC directly, or we can convert that DC to AC by using an inverter, and we can connect to DC loads. Okay. Now the advantages. What are the advantages of using solar cells? Then the main advantage of the solar cell is it has no moving parts. So once it is fixed, it is permanent. The best idea we have to explore is we can fix it in our roof. Roof is a fixed part of our home. Roof is fixed part of our home, so we can fix it directly, and we will get energy continuously. Then absolutely no maintenance. Once we fix it, once we install it, it doesn't require any maintenance unless something hit on it, some mechanism, some wiring or something get damaged. Chances are very less. If you keep it in an open place without having any disturbance, without a chance of hitting, then it requires zero maintenance. Then it can be set up in remote areas without the hassle and expense of transmission lines. See, there are certain places in our country itself where the places are very remote, and reaching there itself is remote. Then how will we connect such remote areas with power transmission lines? So transmission itself will consume a lot of power. So it will meet actually, if we want to supply power to that remote locations, lot of power wastage will be there. So if we implement such ideas like solar cells, etc., things in such places, we can save a lot of wastage of energy in the form of transmission loss. Okay. Now, what are the disadvantages of this one? Then the main disadvantage is, as I have told you, all the materials will not give this photoelectricity. So only certain materials give photoelectricity, and that materials, just like silicon, then gallium arsenide, etc., materials, which are not easily available and bit costly also. Now the cost is coming down gradually. Still, it is a bit costly, and the initial installation is bit costly. Then the normal connections between the terminals of this one are made by silver. Of course, we know that silver is a bit costly, and that use of silver in interconnections make these solar cell panels a bit expensive. So that is a reason. And let me tell you, my dear learners, even though we have a lot of disadvantages about the solar cell, when we think about the future of our planet Earth as well as future of our own population on Earth. So this is not a disadvantage. So we have to protect our planet Earth in some or other way. So these are the only mechanisms, these are the only technologies, these are the only provisions by which we can protect our environment, protect ourselves and protect the planet Earth. Now where we use the solar cells once again, so point wise, mainly we use in toys, watches, calculators. Then we use electric fencing lines, or forest, we can use electric fencing lines. Then the remote lighting systems, just now we have discussed, then pumping, water treatment, emergency power, portable water supplies, and the major application is in satellites. See, for example, in a remote forest, you want to install a camera. Of course, the digital recorder, etc., things will be there in the camera, hard disk will be there in the camera, but what is the source of power? In such circumstances, in such situations, you can use solar panel there to power that camera. And again, you have a remote highway. There is no population, there is no home, there is no connection, there is nothing is there available. That highway, where you can use it instead of bringing a transmission line from long distances, resulting in large wastage of power. There you can use a solar cell panel. So like that, different applications are there. I won't say that this will be a substitute to the existing power generating systems. Of course, it is not a substitute. But the advantage here is when we use this kind of innovative techniques, innovative non-conventional source of energy, we can reduce the usage of conventional sources of energy to a greater extent and thereby protecting our planet Earth. So that's a main scenario here. See, this is a model of a house which is fully equipped with a solar cell panel. So this you will see in future, in the near future itself, you will see this one because India is rich in sunlight. Of course, India is a developing country, but I will definitely say that India is a well-developed country because it has a lot of light energy as reserve. So once we start harnessing the light energy in its full strength, no doubt we will be a part of global developed countries. See, a panel is placed on top of the roof. It turns this light into electricity. We can store it with some storing mechanism. Then by distribution mechanism, we can use it for our house. At the same time, you can supply it to government also. And of course, the government will pay us and we will get some extra money without having any extra burden and all those things. It will be a nice innovation if we practice in our home in future. So dear learners, we were discussing about the usage of the solar energy as well as wind energy, etc. things. These are all nice innovations, nice techniques for the future, green techniques, very comfortable techniques without providing any, without damaging the nature, damaging the earth and all those things, protecting the environment. A lot of benefits are there. And let's hope that we will use all these things in future also. And the next, next topic we are discussing in this session is how can we harness energy from the sea? That we will see after a short break. And dear learners, this is a topic of general discussion. Of course, it is science, but it is a topic of general discussion. So if you also involved in the discussion, it will be very nice. It will be a very interactive session. So you can ask your doubts by logging on to sdmis.nios.ac.in or simply you can SMS your doubts to the number which is scrolling in your screen.